Planned Brotherhood is not affiliated or associated with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is registered trademark of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Incorporated.
Randy returns this week with his friend and girlfriend. At the end of the show, they took over the microphones for a while.
That is the legal statement that had to be read. And
it didn't have to be
the
read.
New World Order will
He's
be
not
happy
listening
that
at
we
all.
did so.
So Planned Parenthood is part of the New World Order. You were telling me when I told you I was seeking legal advice from the ACLU that they were basically the same organization.
Well, it appears as this specter of a world government is lurching toward us, that all these things that seem to be going bad for us and to us are connected to a small group of very rich people that are taking over the world. That's about the best way I can sum this thing up. I mean,
But what is Planned Parenthood's part in the world takeover?
Planned Parenthood was basically to get rid of useless eaters, basically. And that appears
Does that
to be...
mean what I think it means, Randy?
I think it appears to be genocide, if you want to know my opinion. And apparently...
The abortions and whatnot?
Yes, because
What about the condoms? Are you into preventing pregnancy?
I think that white women are very spoiled and decadent and need to get back to their role in nature, and that's reproduction.
But only white women. What do you suggest to everybody else? Planned Parenthood.
I suggest that also there's a tribe in the Amazon that is becoming extinct. There's only 5 members of the tribe, and I think they also should get a little bit busy trying to reproduce some more members of their tribe, which is almost extinct. I say that of all people. I'm not a racial centered, how do I want to say this? A supremacist. I'm not a racial supremacist. I believe that it's good to hybridize all the races, and it's also good to keep some areas pure of each race. So
you're for all the own races, just stick to where we put you, right?
I am for
Then explain
everything.
the cape. And
I
hood.
am for every kind of race and every combination of race, and to continue having these combinations, we need to remain have areas that are also where all pure racial elements can reproduce their own kinds, so that we can continue to have this diversity that we all say we want.
But you just don't want 2 white people to quit sleeping with each other, right?
What I don't
You want a certain amount of that going on.
Well, do you remember Star Trek where...
No.
Well, anyway...
we remember it as a thing.
I remember there was a show
Remember
called
the
Star
people
Trek.
who remember Star Trek? There on the helm there was an Oriental person, there was a black person,
Very
there was
diverse.
a white person.
First interracial kiss on television?
On television.
Yeah.
William
Now-
Shatner
now-
and who?
Now, when you
whoever
think
played
about
Uhura.
how many years in the future this was supposed to happen, it is a fiction, because in the future everybody will be Oriental. Because
Specifically by that time in the future?
Yes, the Oriental genome is about to swallow the rest of the earth with these elite, rich
There's a lot in Seattle.
Asiatics
I know
at the top of the food chain. This is about what's going to happen. And there's a guy here tonight that I asked to come and be on your show. His name is Eric Thompson, and I think he's
Randy does our bookings.
a world class historian. And
Are you already passing off? We should explain that we are lacking a microphone tonight.
Right.
So
And
we will hear them talk separately, but not at the same time.
yes, I'm about to pass the microphone.
Wait, I wasn't done with you yet.
You weren't done with me.
Not
Okay.
quite. I have a question, and I want an honest answer.
All right.
Because I think I may have misread everything you just told us.
All right.
Would you be offended, let's say, working the job that you do, to see a biracial couple? Is that what you say? Biracial?
Interracial
yes,
couple?
Interracial?
Biracial would be their kid.
Right.
I am, let us just say that due to the fact that Caucasians are diminishing every day in numbers, I would have to say
Is that statistically
I
true?
would have to say that my personal thoughts on seeing us interbreed with other racial elements in such a quick way
Remember, I'm sitting
is
right
to
here.
me disheartening on the statistical aspects. But for that individual couple, if they are in love, if they are compatible, more power to them.
Follow-up question. Have you
Yes.
met PJ's wife?
Yes, I have.
What do you
in
think
fact,
of her?
She is a nice-looking lady, and
Of
I
Latina descent.
yes, and she is an Asiatic in origin, as all.
I didn't know she had asthma.
I thought it meant she falls asleep all the time.
No, she's
Apnea.
all the American indigenous people are have Asiatic genes. In other words, Chinese, pre-Chinese, if you will, which are what American Indians and South American Indians are.
I can confirm this. She has dirty knees.
And
I was hoping you'd go there. I thought of the same joke.
And I am not against hybridization, so I have no personal animosity toward any biracial couple.
But when you see PJ and Alvina's kid, it really kind of pisses you off, huh?
no,
Not as long as there are enough
not
white
really.
babies to balance it out.
Yeah, no. It's in fact hybridization can sometimes produce very good offspring. So I am no way criticize anybody's racial type of who they pick for their sexual mate.
That
But-
is true because
Asians are hot.
One
hot.
One example I can think of was at work. Do you remember when you got in a little bit of trouble for talking to a table at work? But you weren't saying something bad to an interracial couple.
No, actually, what really got me in trouble most recently was when
No,
I was.
but even before that, I'm talking
Oh.
about before that.
Oh.
Like, didn't you go up to a couple and say about the white raced babies?
I
holy
said
white
I
babies?
was glad to see she had a white child because our numbers are diminishing, and that was probably a very dangerous thing for me to have
Well, how
said.
did she take it? Did she take it as a
didn't-
compliment or an insult?
She didn't like it.
It's probably a
but
little scared.
Her husband didn't find it offensive, and that was interesting. That the female of the couple found that white racial reproduction to not be appropriate.
Well, I think it's
to-
more like we came out for dinner. Here's a man coming
Oh,
up
well,
to
yeah.
me saying, "Thank God your kid is white."
Well, I do get a little too far outside the box of the do your job, Automon.
There's a lot of times you're in the
automaton,
bar and I have to hush you. Not because I don't want you to be able to say what you're saying, but I know that not everyone sitting at that bar is going to take it well.
Especially in Yakima. let's
Yeah.
be honest.
I like to think, though, that when I'm done talking, that the Constitution has become a little more alive again, because right now the Constitution is definitely on the outs in our
Especially at
political scene.
At our restaurant.
Well, I find the Sports Center, which is a bar next door, to be even
We've talked about it lots.
even worse. You are not allowed to discuss politics, whether you're telling the
What do you mean? They've
Even as a
quieted you?
customer?
as a customer, I have been told not to mention the banking fiasco.
It's
so
like,
apparently,
That
it's like
is
that scene in
ridiculous.
Sleepers.
so apparently, while our economy is hemorrhaging, and I, along with it, I have to remain quiet and hemorrhage quietly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, as to this banking system, I brought a friend.
Well, okay,
here.
I'm sorry, but I know you're desperate to pass off the mic, but we're only
Oh,
8
no.
minutes in.
I'm not
Let's talk
desperate.
about your more recent.
Oh, that.
Oh, we're
okay.
dropping names, huh?
All right.
Oh,
now,
I thought maybe tonight we shouldn't.
Most
now,
recent.
I have to
restaurant.
warn everybody that is. Now, do you have a lot of people that listen to this show? Because I
Tons.
hope so.
You wouldn't believe the number.
It's
I hope
crazy.
it's like 1,000 or more. Is it that
Definitely.
many?
Think 20 times that.
Are you serious?
And then scale it back
Okay,
a little bit.
Then this gives me some hope, because I am about to give some information out that I think is very important to everybody.
Well, and I think
on
everybody
Earth.
wants to hear it.
This
As
is
long
the
as
fact
it's related to the
that
Olive Garden
the
thing.
swine flu vaccinations that they are trying to force upon people
Now,
in the United States.
This is a
are-
specific one or the ones that Safeway?
Well, I'll tell you more about the other kinds, but this most specifically, this swine flu vaccine that they've invented, and there's a pharmaceutical corporation that's going to make a lot of money off of this. But
Sure.
but they have a substance that they put in this called adjuvant, and it essentially is a element called squalene. Well, squalene is a element they put in the shots they gave the Gulf War veterans
Okay.
of Gulf War I, and it gave them Gulf War syndrome. Now, there's 160,000 times more squalene in these shots they want to give our general population, starting with our children and our pregnant women first.
Okay.
Now, squalene is an oil, and it's similar to a lot of oils in your own cells. A lot of your own body cells have a oil that is very similar to squalene. Well, after your immune system is done attacking this squalene, it doesn't shut itself down. It continues to attack everything that looks like squalene,
Okay.
i.e. your own body cells, as I was alluding to. So I am so glad tonight that I am on your show, PJ, to tell
And Nick.
everybody, and Nick. You know, I haven't listened to this show enough. You guys are like the Bobbsey twins here.
We like to think of ourselves as the Hardy Boys thing.
See, Howard Stern has to have his little black woman helper.
Let's stay on
You
point.
know.
We can certainly
And
talk
so-
about the black helpers
But-
in my life.
Or
But
Robert
Nick
Quivers
is more
an
like
hour.
that pervert editor over on the side of the room rather than the black woman.
I don't
But
even
anyway,
edit. I'm just a pervert.
Yeah.
He's got a sound card full of fart
Yeah.
noises. You guys don't have
Anyway,
headphones on.
if
On
we
the
have a
radio.
girl on the show,
So-
Nick, you'll get to touch her and stuff, okay? It'll be okay. But anyway,
So they're putting this dangerous thing in our vaccines, and then what happened at the restaurant? You
I
warned
was
somebody?
letting a woman know who I was walking up to a table that was already almost empty, and this lady was picking up a few things, and she said to me, I hope I didn't make a mess. And, of course,
This was a
my
customer?
job is to pick up after all this sort of thing. So
This is a customer?
Yeah, this is a customer. So I say to her, oh, that's okay. And I noticed that she had a lot of children that had obviously been at the table by the amount of mess there was. But anyway, being that I know about the vaccine and how seriousness and how in cahoots our media is with all of this New World Order corporatism that we have, I felt compelled to be the media myself. And that means word of mouth. That's the deadliest media.
Fortunately, he looks a lot like Lisa Gibbons.
Yeah.
But
Well, I
she
believe-
didn't. But she didn't go home and turn on the TV.
Actually, she took my advice. She didn't get the shot. She worried a great
What
deal.
was your advice? What was your advice?
I told her not to get the shot because of the squalene. I told her about the squalene. I essentially told her everything I told you, which really scared her. I mean, sometimes you warn people about a danger and they thank you. Other times you tell people about a danger, and if they're a very frail person in their emotional makeup, it does more harm to them to know their impending danger almost than it's like a tsunami.
But did
coming,
you walk
know,
up
for-
to? Did you walk up to her and say, "Just to let you know, don't let your kids get these shots. It's going to
Well,
give them Gulf War syndrome."
I didn't
Or did it
say
come up in
I didn't
natural
specifically say Gulf War syndrome. I just said that these shots are very bad, and that I would, if I were her, not let any of her children or her grandchildren or any of her friends' grandchildren. I essentially am like a honeybee going back to the hive, telling the hive where the new flowers are. In other words, this information that the New World Order mass media is not going to tell us. They're trying to get us to take these damn shots.
Do you trust the Daily Show?
I don't trust any show on TV because that's where the money is, and the New World Order is
Okay,
right where
right.
the money's at. So I
was
don't
just
trust.
curious.
If I see something that I'm for on a TV show, I have to stop and think just exactly, do I know enough about what I know?
Are you talking about fiction or nonfiction?
No,
TV?
I'm talking about nonfiction. But anytime they say something is good for me, I start to thinking it's just the opposite. Anything that's good for me is bad for me as far as the New World Order, mass media.
So you don't believe in
propaganda
fruits or
box.
vegetables then?
I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to eat any genetically modified food. I'll tell you that right
No,
now.
of course
yeah,
not.
I probably shouldn't, but I do. Did she take your advice?
Yes, she did. She took my advice. But a couple of weeks after we had this conversation, she called our business and complained about me, and I was put on administrative leave for a few days.
Her complaint was
Her complaint was that the news was so bad and so horrible that it caused her to not be able to sleep very well.
That's
And
it?
there was nothing about a stroke in there.
She had a
no,
sleepless night.
now
That's it.
I've heard two stories from the managers, and I shouldn't go into specifics of who said what.
I
but-
heard she had a stroke.
But I heard she had a stroke from one manager, and then the other manager said, "No, I didn't hear that." So I'll have to maybe in some future show get back with you and let you know if there really
After he's wrapped some skulls.
if I was a alleged cause of her stroke or my bad news was or whatever. All I can think of right now, though, and the bottom line, if she had a stroke from what I said, I apologize for that very profoundly. But I suspect that she either didn't have a stroke, or if she had one that was unrelated to anything that I said to her, I don't know. That would be pretty grasping at straws. And also, I would like to say that she took my advice. She did not get the shot. She told her friends not to let anyone.
Well, it sounds like she had a stroke. She's busy.
Well, yeah, but why would she be upset about advice that she takes? From that, I deduce the old phenomena we all know as kill the messenger. Now,
I think she was probably angling towards some gift certificates.
she did get a gift certificate. And I don't know how safe it is to get too specific.
But you're back. You're back.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what
back.
matters. You're
I'm
back in
back.
the game.
I'm back in the game.
Been there going
I
on
was
15 years.
The head office.
I'm sorry. Is it unfair to ask? Did you get suspended or anything?
No, no, but I did.
Administrative.
I was on a paid leave status for
Oh, really?
for 3 days.
Nice.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but of course I
Watched
made
a
no
lot of
tips. I
nonfiction
made no
TV.
tips, so that was that wasn't so
Yeah.
good. But anyway, yeah, I am back, and the head office decided, and our immediate general manager also put in a couple of good words for me. And
How long have you been there?
12 years.
Well, then, heck yeah.
Well, just
Slap on the
because I've
arm,
been
even if
anywhere
that's
for a
deserved,
length
you
of
know?
time, it doesn't give me safety from being stupid. But
I bet your vacation time is pretty good, huh?
it was kind of profound to walk around
totally
talking
skipped
to
over that
people. I talked to a guy holding up a sign for a going out of business furniture store, and he said he was a welder, but that he was. He had
I've
to
seen
just-
that guy. That's a scam.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What are you talking about? In Yakima?
Yeah,
The
I
guy-
don't
oh,
remember all the
Oh,
details.
the furniture business that's perpetually going out of business. Oh, there's
Yes.
nothing new.
That's
nothing
Is
exactly
he
new.
it.
standing in front
Oh,
of a
yeah.
furniture store?
Yes. And that's always his story.
And he says it's
And he's
going
holding
out-
a sign.
So what, he
Yes.
wants money?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you give him money, Randy?
No, he didn't ask me for any money. He just was holding this sign up.
Oh, well, he asked me for money, but he also seemed to be fighting for some cause I didn't understand.
Really? Oh,
and
wow.
didn't have the time to listen to.
Oh, really? Anyway,
That made me sound like an asshole. I'm just saying, like, he asked me for money first and then tried to tell me about his cause. I already don't trust you.
I've been hearing that a lot of bums lately are becoming more educated. since the
Disagree. I live
economy-
in Seattle, and that is untrue.
No,
I
I'm
can
just
see in town
I'm
that they're
just talking
becoming
about
more
in a
aggressive.
very small way. I'm talking about individual examples, not as a generality. Of
So
course,
you've run
but,
into some geniuses on the street?
We're beginning to develop tent cities full of people that you and I would have to say are about like ourselves. Just
Would we?
for the grace of God, not go either of us here.
I got a couple dollars in my pocket.
I don't think all of us know how close we are to being one paycheck away from the street. I don't think it's sunk in enough yet.
I used to be able to say I have enough family to where I could never be homeless, but I don't think that's really the case
We've
anymore.
alienated a lot of our family recently,
Yeah.
so
Actually, our banking system is destroying us,
Back
and
to the banking system.
we'll either stop this usury, debt, slavery, bank fraud, or we'll die. We'll have a choice. And since I brought up this bank situation, I would like to, if I could,
Twice.
at this point, introduce a friend of mine. that I
hold
thought-
on. Here's what we're going to do. PJ, you tell me if you agree with this
Mm-hmm.
plan. We're going to pass the mic because I have a fun game for our next guest. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Eric it was, right? You can yell yes.
Yes.
So I have one question. No.
Okay.
That's not how it's working.
All right.
Not yet. I have one more question for you at
All right.
least, because I really want your opinion. And then I'm thinking we'll take a quick break. I can explain the idea to you because I have a good idea for our next segment, and then Eric can be on mic for a little bit.
Okay.
But my
Does that
one
sound
more.
good to everybody?
Yeah.
We're
Sounds good.
gonna ask Randy a question. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back.
I literally just said it.
E-Dog's on the mic.
Okay.
So, I got a question or two for Eric too, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, that'll work perfectly with the next segment. But for this segment, just one more question. What are your honest feelings? And I know that it seems like I might be goading you, but I just really want to know because I don't know where you stand. How do you feel about Obama as a president so far?
Well, Obama is just one of the two puppets that the Lehman Brothers financed. The other puppet was called McCain. And the New World Order didn't care which one of us batch of fools voted in a predominant way for either one of them. So they
Did you
got
care?
what
Did
they
you
wanted.
vote? Do you mind my asking?
No, I
won't
didn't.
ask
for any
who
of
you
those.
voted
I
for.
didn't bother voting when I found out.
Oh, wasn't
that,
he trying to buy people's votes? Was that
You offered me money for my vote.
Yeah, I was foolish.
Should we
wasn't I?
announce that? I don't
No,
know if
I'm
we should
sorry,
announce
I'm
that.
sorry.
Can
we'll
I
cut that.
say that I grow from my errors, and here's my new revelation. It
If I was
doesn't matter,
registered to vote, I wouldn't have even taken your money. I would have voted for whoever you told me to.
But here's
But I'm
the
not gonna
key
register
thing.
to
Here's
vote.
the key thing for everybody out there. It's not who you vote for. It's who you get up and walk to your precinct and get on the ballot. That's where the power is. You don't vote on anything. You pick who gets to run, who gets to be voted on. That's the best way to put that. If you aren't in on who you pick to be on the ballot, then you ain't even. It doesn't matter who the idiots vote for, because democracy, as many people know now, is a Trojan horse, and we were suckered into democracy not too many hundred years ago, and democracy has failed in every country it has ever been tried. So we need to build a aristocracy based on a merit.
Who knew that was a word? I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
continue to impress me.
Yeah. And that's how we're going to get our way out of this financial destruction that we are about to witness in an apocalyptic way.
Well, I certainly hope
Apocalyptic
everybody
way.
wrote that down. Everybody got it? If not, go back
Yeah.
10
Aristotle.
minutes.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my answer, and I hope we have a short break and get
I'd
back
love
to
a cigarette,
my
yeah.
friend's interview.
I'm having a great time here, by the way.
Yeah, I
don't
am
know if that's
too.
coming across
I'm
or
liking it.
This is Eric Thompson broadcasting from the poop deck of the USS Titanic.
Is this your blog right here on the computer screen?
Yeah.
I notice.
not. Do you mind? Oh, we probably shouldn't give the URL, right? Spies and whatnot.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to advertise your blog so people can go to it, or do you want to keep that?
because once a thing is that far in the past, 2002, it's Stone Age. People don't even know it's on the internet.
Yeah. Well, let's plug it. How do we find it? Because there's some interesting subjects on here.
Let me take a
I
look.
noticed December 14th, 2002, the Hitler we loved and why.
Yes, I wrote that.
Looks like they can go to faem.com/Eric/2002. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that stood for the First Amendment exercise machine.
Okay, faem.com/Eric.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. So how long have you been blogging?
Since 2002 at least, right?
I've never been blogging. I have people who blog for me.
Oh, is that
Oh,
right?
really?
A
Yes.
dictator? Is that what you call
I'm
it?
a dictator. Yes.
Do you have someone dictating your thoughts?
That's exactly what my question
No,
was.
that's me.
I didn't even know you had a blog. I'm going to have to check this out.
Yeah.
This is why we loved him. We loved him because he loved us and our children.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Nothing to say on it?
I wrote this because I wondered why somebody would express love for Adolf Hitler. So I investigated, and I saw lots of German films and read books and things to research what Hitler did for Germany,
Uh-huh.
and it was pretty outstanding. If
Can you give
were-
us 2 examples?
Well, he
Just
cured,
2.
He cured the Depression.
Uh-huh.
He put people to work.
Okay, that's 2.
He restored the economy,
Uh-huh.
and he made it healthy to live in Germany if you were German.
even people, I've noticed that even people who later on said, oh, he obviously went crazy, killed all these Jews and stuff like that. A lot of people were on board with him in the very beginning.
Well, the people who were most on board with him were the Jews
Until
who
he
founded
killed
Israel.
them? Why would he kill all of his supporters?
Because he never did.
He didn't.
This was an accusation.
Wait, this is breaking news also.
This was an accusation cooked up in 1946. And the first time this thing surfaced was in 1919
Yeah.
in the American Hebrew, an official Jewish publication in the United States, which said that 6 million Jews were going to perish in 1919. Well, that's just after World War I. Hitler was nowhere in power then, so who was exterminating Jews in 1919? Well, the whole thing was a hoax. There was
The whole thing was a hoax.
a hoax.
Okay, because I saw a movie. Tell me if you're familiar with it, Mr. Death. I think it was directed by Errol Morris.
Is that documentary?
Yeah, it was a documentary, and it was about investigating how Holocaust was a hoax. Am I reading this right? Is that what you were telling us?
I knew a fellow named Mr. Death. His name was Fred Leuchter.
Was he the one that had... Wait, are you joking? I can't tell.
Just put that mic right up on your mouth. Then you don't even have to yell.
No, I'm not joking. I knew Fred Leuchter.
Okay, was he Mr. Death? That was his name?
He performed executions throughout the United States.
I saw a documentary about him, that
That's
exact
right.
guy, and I thought it was really fascinating. And he pretty much because he started out doing electric chairs, right? Was that what it was?
He did everything.
I thought he started as an electric chair repairman.
Can
and
we
then
even
he just-
confirm that the movie's about the same guy? I
we
mean, Mr.
can't.
Death.
Definitely
That's
it
got to be a
is.
million people's poker nickname.
It is. Yeah, it's authentic, and he's the same guy. Fred
Well,
Leuchter.
let's
That they
hope he
made the
is.
movie about.
Let's hope he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's really interesting because he pretty much ditched his wife. We could be talking about that. I don't want to sound uninformed. I feel like an idiot. Let's move on.
But so this movie, did it prove that the Holocaust didn't exist, or was it trying to prove otherwise?
Well, the Holocaust without the gas chambers can't exist because the official lie is that the people were gassed
Yeah,
with Cyclone B in gas chambers at certain camps. which
that's
were
what I've
called
heard. Those are the
death
mini-series
camps.
I've seen.
Okay, so Fred Leuchter and his team went to all these camps, took forensic scrapings from the walls of the alleged gas chambers, and found no evidence that these things had ever been exposed to the quantity of Cyclone B that would kill anybody. In fact, the areas where the Cyclone B was used was the delousing sectors, which were never said to be lethal gas chambers.
Just kill the lice. Lethal to the lice.
Well, that's what it was for. We used it in Ellis Island because this was before DDT.
DDT.
Yes, DDT kills lice.
Oh, okay.
But
Got it.
we were using a cyanide fumigation process to kill lice at Ellis Island. And nobody accuses us of gassing people at Ellis Island.
So then how come they chose him and just decided to make this all up? And where did the 6 million Jews go?
Well, they pretty well stayed where they were.
But there's records of their deaths, right? Like these people weren't there anymore.
Well, most
False records.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, right?
well,
But somebody had to have seen him
the
around.
records at Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum in Israel,
.com, sure.
are very, very dubious. In fact, the Jews themselves say that they are largely hearsay. Now, the records of deaths kept by the Germans amounted to something like 200,000, but not Jews. Most of the inmates of these camps were not Jews.
But they do admit that they held these people against their will. For what reason in these camps?
Well, not entirely, because the war fronts were moving toward Germany. And if you wanted to stay and get clobbered in the middle of a war, you could stay. But if you were...
They had stuff to do, and Frank wrote a diary.
But
Yeah,
from what I've seen, you didn't have the choice of staying in your home. They would pull you out of your home and then
That's
use
right.
it as their home.
no, you couldn't. couldn't really do
Schindler's
that.
List.
Well,
Schindler's List is a lie, isn't
yeah,
it?
that-
I had a
that's-
feeling.
It's not a
I
true
had a
story.
feeling.
that's Hollywood hokum.
So is Fargo, PJ. That's not
Yeah.
true.
That's true. Okay.
I hate to do this, guys, but I'm looking at the time, and we've instituted a new time slot, so we have to get done in a certain amount of time. But we want
Our
to spend
bandwidth is shrinking.
And here's the thing, Eric. We want to spend exactly 15 more minutes with you, but we want to get a lot in there. So we're going to give you 3 minutes to answer 5 questions. So I'll ask you a question, then you have 3 minutes, okay? Is that okay?
That's right.
Randy, we did this with you, remember? And that part of the episode got lost. Randy's
Yeah.
nodding yes.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
So I'm going to start, and you have 3 minutes. Peter, are you timing
Did
it?
that sound mean the way Nick said it?
I'm
We've
sorry.
got
I didn't
15
mean
more minutes
No,
with
it
you. Did that
sounds
sound
great.
mean?
No, I was just explaining that,
Three
you know.
minutes is more than I've ever been allowed to speak.
On any subject, that's true.
Okay.
Well, okay.
What?
No,
Do
go
you have
ahead.
more to say?
Nope.
Okay. My first question is, and remember, 3 minutes. PJ's timing it. Was 9/11 an inside job?
Definitely.
You
9/11.
have way more time.
9/11 was a Zionist setup to get us into the war, which we got into. The attack on the USS Liberty was a failure, and the first trade tower bombing was a failure because they couldn't pin it on the Arabs. But in 9/11, they managed to do that, and so Israel got the war that it wanted.
So what happened? Did they get Arabs to fly airplanes into a building, or did they just make all that up? The black box recordings.
Steel doesn't melt, right?
Yeah, according to an Air Force officer,
Uh-huh.
the aircraft showed signs of being piloted by remote control.
Interesting.
And this technology exists where an aircraft can be taken over from the ground or from another aircraft.
But these terrorists still got on the plane. Pictures were taken of them getting on the plane, and you can hear the voices of them taking over the plane. So is that fake or a coincidence, or they somehow had influence to get people to get these people to hijack the planes?
Well, the thing is that the people we accused of hijacking the planes were on the ground at the time. In fact, they weren't even in the country.
Hold on, Randy's going to take the mic.
Yeah.
However many of the 3 minutes is left.
Okay.
Actually, Eric, 5 of the alleged hijackers showed up alive in various parts of the world just a matter of days after 9/11, wondering why they were accused of flying any plane. So right away we have 5 of the alleged suspects not even being in the remotely near the area of their alleged
But how is it possible that
crime.
we don't know that they're not dead when they supposedly flew these planes into a building and died?
Well, they showed up after see their pictures on the TV.
But how come nobody else knows that? How come you're the only person I've ever talked to that knows that?
Well, it's on the internet and it's been recognized as a fact by the
It seems like
mainstream
Inside
media.
Edition would have caught wind of that.
Well, now your mainstream TV propaganda box is your voice of the New World Order, and they're not going to tell you anything that they don't want you to know. So if they want your opinion, they'll give it to you, as it were.
say
That's
you-
my opinion of TV media.
Me, you, Nick, and Eric start a band.
Thank-
Stephanie in there on tambourine. Our name is Propaganda Box.
Yeah.
We're way past 3 minutes.
We got
aren't we?
18 more seconds.
18 more seconds. Go.
Okay, Randy's right, and I have seen the photographs of some of these accused hijackers from passport photos, which suddenly surfaced, and it turns out these people were not in the United States.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
That was very succinct. I liked that, guys. And I got my mic stolen. That hardly ever happens. I'm the co-host of the fucking show. But it's fine, Randy. I thought your point was very interesting. And usually we would have 4 mics. It's so unprofessional. PJ, you've got question number 2.
Do you prefer the smell of like a nice flower
You stole my question.
or a spring rain?
He's got to go 3 minutes on this?
You have up to 3 minutes.
Well, I like both to a certain extent because I know the spring rain is going to bring some nice smelling flowers.
Yes.
So I
But
like
it smells
both.
good itself.
Yes, it smells good itself.
Unlike McDonald's smells good
Yeah.
until later when it smells bad.
I'm guessing you don't eat McDonald's. Is that correct?
No.
It's because it's processed and whatnot.
Well, it's too expensive for me.
Too expensive for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too for the most part. I haven't had a job in quite some time.
Yeah, we went to McDonald's today. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I just have a little 2-year-old. Okay, what's the next question?
Well, you basically stole my joke. I was good, but in a different way. What came first, the chicken or the egg? That's all I got.
Yeah.
Oh, so now I got to come up with a legit question?
I thought you said you had 3 questions.
I did. That was 2 of them. 9/11 and chicken and the egg.
So what's your third?
Oh, okay. How do you feel about Obama as president?
Well, he's a very good emperor, like the previous presidents we've had.
You're forgetting about Bush, aren't you?
Well, Bush is like Caligula. He was like a mad,
Sure is.
a mad Roman dictator, and Obama is working for the same crew as financed and promoted Bush.
I do agree with that. Like, I never realized so much until, I don't know if I only started paying a little more attention nowadays, that the president is definitely an employee. Still, somehow has a lot of power, and I don't know if the president always has as much power as they think they have, or if they're just kind of delusional and everyone's like, well, you're the face of the country, we're not going to piss you off and stuff like that. But I definitely see the instances of, yeah, I know it should be this way, but there's so many reasons why I can't do it. I have way too many people to answer to.
Yeah, I understand that
That's how I feel.
politics is people power, and when you've got a lot of people involved in a situation, it's very difficult to please everybody. So Obama will tell us what we want to hear, and he's been doing that, but then he gives his employers...
But isn't that something in itself, don't you think? Like, Bush
but
never
what-
told anybody anything they wanted to hear.
Well, he was more straightforward. He was like, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to do it this way, which was really, like, fucking arrogant.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I know he hasn't been president for very long. That's A. B is I know nothing about it.
Neither
But,
do I.
like, you know, if you just keep saying it and never doing it, I can see a lot of people getting fucking frustrated with that.
Well, a lot of people are.
Oh, yeah, I
this
know.
Guantanamo business, where we're going to close
Sure.
Guantanamo, but we don't
The second Harold
exactly,
Kumar, right?
Yeah, we don't exactly know when. We're supposed to be getting out of these unnecessary wars in the Middle East, but Obama wants us to step up our troop content in Afghanistan.
But isn't that Bush's mess?
It indeed is.
Okay, just making sure.
But the main thing in American politics is that you have many candidates, but only one policy.
Right.
And this has been determined by the banksters who rule us through the Federal Reserve.
We're going to let you end on this.
Okay.
Because I know Randy said you had something to say about this. Continue. I was just...
So unfortunately, since we have no vote on issues, because we're not a democracy, we only can vote for candidates. And the candidates are selected by the rich. You know how much it takes to run a candidate in an election. It's phenomenal. So this is a republic of the rich, just like Rome, as Tacitus described in his little book.
Was it called The Little Book? I was
Man,
confused there.
That was
It's called
exactly three.
the
He stopped at exactly 3 minutes.
Oh, I fucked it up. Sorry. Continue. What was it called?
Okay, Tacitus' book is called The Agricola and the Germania.
Am I going to be able to find that on Google Images for the photo album this
I'm
week?
sure you can.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have the next question, which is, what do you think about this war we're in?
It's
You just answered that.
it's a disaster.
Not really.
It's a disaster for this empire, this Zionist bankster empire.
You think we should get out?
The Americans should get out,
Yeah.
but we are slaves of the Zionist bankster empire, and our duty is to die for this empire so we can be replaced.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of that.
Well, I don't think people
Well, you got
in
a
their
bum
right,
leg. You couldn't go anyway.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
true.
think people in their right minds would like that.
Some people do, man. They're fucking. There's another buster at our restaurant who he's all about just getting over there.
Well, let him go.
What if you die? Oh, I don't fucking care. I got a big
That's how I
American
feel
flag
about it.
tattoo on my back in the process.
Yeah.
Listen to Toby Keith on the car ride to the
That's right.
airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. I agree. The whole thing. That's
What-
my opinion.
Have you ever fought in a war?
Well,
Other than, like,
I've
a war
seen
of words.
more action as a civilian, I lived in Colombia for 2 years.
Wow.
And my place was bombed twice in 6 months.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm only alive because I overslept an hour on the road to Bogota.
God.
If I'd caught,
And you got to sleep an extra
if
hour
I'd-
bonus.
Yeah, if I'd caught
Alive
the,
and refreshed.
the first bus, I wouldn't be here because nobody on the bus arrived either. They all died when the landmine blew them off the road and down thousands of feet in an Andean gorge.
And what was going on there at the time?
The normal civil war in Colombia that's gone on for 400 years.
Interesting.
And this was before cocaine became an industrial product.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of do you have a lot of readers of your blog? I know I keep calling it a blog. I'm still not clear because you say that you don't actually write it.
Oh, I write it.
Oh, you do write it. Okay.
It's the people who put it on the internet.
You get comments on it and stuff
So
like
do you
that?
not have or trust the internet yourself? Why is there that go-between guy?
Well,
I didn't mean to interject with a question on top of your
It's very
question.
simple. If I were on the internet, I would need a secretary to handle the volume. And I'm just one person.
God, I wish we could say that.
Yeah, I'm just one person. And so I do it by snail mail. And I communicate with people who are on the internet by snail mail. And if they want to put it on the internet, they're welcome to do so.
Not just because you use snail mail, but can I ask how old you are?
70.
Is that
Really?
right?
That's
no
right.
way.
Looking
You are
good.
seriously. I would have guessed 50 something. Honestly.
Well,
I was guessing like 45 and you looked a little old for your age.
Oh man, you got to top me all the time,
Yeah.
don't you?
I'm just saying.
It's fucking Mario Kart all over
Yeah,
again.
I've had a very easy life. I've only been kicked out of 5 countries.
You've only been bombed twice in the same 6 months.
Yeah, and I've only been in one civil war in Africa, which I didn't get blown up in, and I didn't get shot.
What brings you back around to Yakima?
Interesting question.
Well, when I got kicked out of this country, which was the first country, and they confiscated my doctoral dissertation on Peru, which was the same findings that Noam Chomsky.
Wait, can we ask why? They confiscated your doctoral license in Peru.
My doctoral dissertation.
That's what I said.
Like a
on
paper.
Peru. Yes.
What school were you going to?
San Francisco State.
Nice.
And what's the reason for this? Continue. I'm sorry.
Well, they didn't like
Too
my
close to the
findings.
truth. It's like the Pelican Brief.
I had got invited to go down to Peru by former U.S. government employees who were my faculty members. And this is the only dictatorship that invites its subjects to get into trouble. I've lived under fascist dictator in Spain, Generalissimo Franco, and they
That
would
bastard.
they would tell you what not to do. This dictatorship says, go on, do it. And if you do it, then you hear the snick of the round being chambered in the rifle.
This might be a dumb question, but that
Hold on.
dictator-
We're just gonna
that
move
dictator
right
you're
along.
talking
That was-
about? What's his name?
Oh, Franco in Spain.
He's got nothing to do with like the beef ravioli I buy.
Man,
Oh,
didn't you just chide me for like saving a joke for so long?
Franco-American
Eric's
spaghetti.
getting a kick out of it.
Yes.
though.
He likes it.
And you, of course, you give the open palm salute and you say, Viva Franco.
Yeah, I like that guy. I got no problem with Pelissimo. Sorry, I totally interrupted. So do you have a doctorate?
No, I won't, because my faculty shunned me, turned their back on me, and then and the U.S. government escorted me to the Mexican border
Okay.
in 1969. And I was only allowed to return without harm to myself after certain people in the District of Corruption died.
Interesting. And so what brought you back around to Yakima?
Oh, I was temporarily employed or seasonally employed in Louisville, Kentucky. And
Not the tavern over here on Lincoln Avenue.
I was thinking
no,
cherry
not that
picker,
one.
but
No, but I was
The Louisville Tavern.
yeah, a contact in
Hey, what's all the ruckus over here?
yeah, yeah. Contact in Yakima told me I could get a railroad job in Yakima. And I've worked for railroads before, And so,
Do you wear the hat? The
You know who
cute
else
one?
did? Jack Kerouac,
Is that
Jack
right?
Kerouac.
railroad worker. Yeah.
Question number 6 out of our top 5.
Oh,
I still don't know how he got back to you. Oh, a job with the railroad.
Exactly.
Got it.
yeah, that's how I wound up in Yakima, and here's where I went broke.
Really?
Because the job fell through.
How long have you been here?
I've been here since 1993.
1993.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Something. Oh, I was going to ask how you feel about Kerouac as a writer. Have you read his work?
Oh, definitely.
You have. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking mainly for PJ. I've never
Yeah.
read one of his books, but PJ's really become influenced by him lately,
I've read
I've
On
read
the
2
Road,
of his books.
and
we're really
Yeah.
influenced by them.
and I think several of his other books. I can't remember the titles right now, but I was too young to be a beatnik and too old to be a hippie, so I missed these groupie movements.
Right? Yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
So
Will you
what
move
was
the
happening
mic
in
just a little closer?
Okay,
Just a little.
there. So Jack Kerouac's On the Road propelled this beatnik movement, which a lot of hangers-on grabbed onto and publicized.
Mhm.
And I think one of the best critiques of Kerouac's writing was by, I believe, Paul Goodman, who said, "How come you're never in the place where you are? You're always going from place to place.
That's interesting. I haven't even read it.
And when they arrive at the place they're going to, they talk about what they did in the previous place
Yeah.
they were in.
And then where we're going next.
Yeah.
We're just here until we're
Yeah,
going there.
yeah. So to me, that was kind of a rootless tragedy for that fellow. So personally, I would feel sorry for him.
A little closer to the mic.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you in the headphones dropping out a little.
I don't care what anybody says.
In regards to Jack
Except
Kerouac,
Randy.
if I may interject, Jack Kerouac used a
He stole your
style
mic.
of writing that was sort of a stream of consciousness style, which apparently was supposed to give the truth of life because you are living moment to moment. But as you're saying, Eric, that this aimlessness really doesn't have a lot of message to it. Is that the feeling you have too, Fred? Because Eric,
Kerouac had very good literary descriptive qualities. I could not fault him on his descriptions any more than I'd fault Henry David Thoreau in his Walden descriptions.
Now, it appears that since I feel like I'm a little bit of an expert on literary matters, I just like to say, Eric, do you think, and I've heard this, that Ezra Pound might be one of the greatest thinkers of this last century, and I think he's a very profound person who influenced 4 other great literary figures, one James Joyce, Hemingway, and a couple others. But anyway, I just thought I'd interject that.
We
and
went somewhere.
I'll let PJ take it back. Thank you for letting me.
Yeah.
No,
By it, do you mean my microphone?
I
Ezra
jacked it.
Pond? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
when we had our
I'm not
last
saying he doesn't exist, but
yeah.
when we had our last cigarette outside, you may have thought it was working out that segment where we give you 3 minutes for everything, but it was really like, let's just give Randy and Eric some alone time on mic. So I'm glad he gave us that.
we will leave the microphones
Yeah.
here for you guys after
Yeah.
we leave.
Ezra Pound. Was
As long as you record everything.
Ezra Pound. Was,
No, not Ezra Pound. No, anything.
Well,
Anything but. I'm sorry, go ahead. Who is
Better than Ezra?
he
Let's go there.
he committed the sin against this Zionist dictatorship of exercising his freedom of speech. And for that, he was locked in a cage in Italy and left to die of exposure until somebody figured, well, we're going to take him back to the United States and try him for war crimes. And somebody said, no, wait a minute. He can talk a good talk. So they pulled a Soviet stunt. They put him in a loony bin.
If he had phrased it war games, I'd have such a good joke right now.
Yeah, yeah.
What did he write? Can we see his blog?
He wrote a number
Lame.
of things, as I recall, called the cantos of something, which I thought was rather boring, but he was dead set against usury capitalism. you raised the Ezra Pound issue. Well, one of his students was a guy named.
He only raised it.
Did I raise it?
To try and stuff into the ground.
One of his students was Eustace Mullins, who wrote a brilliant book called The Federal Reserve, which every American who wants to call himself an American should read.
The Federal Reserve?
It's on my Netflix.
Fiction or non?
Nonfiction.
Mm-hmm. About what?
About who rules America and how they do it.
But see, when you guys talk about like television being a propaganda box, couldn't I consider books like that propaganda?
Definitely. But you have to be the judge of what is truth and what is falsehood. Every jury is the trier of fact. They decide what is true and what is false. And so that's your duty. When you pick up a book, you say, does this ring true or does this sound like kosher baloney?
And I know that I can rewind it and listen back, but if I did, I'd probably want to hang myself. What's the name of the book again?
The Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve. I will look it up. I'm all into buying books on Amazon lately. Started to get my GED, so now I'm just like, book, I'm smart.
Congratulations.
I'm at least ninth grade smart.
Yeah. Now, the thing to remember when people dismiss control of your money supply as being irrelevant because they don't have any money or they want money but they can't get it, just remember what the founder of the Rothschild dynasty said.
How could I forget?
Back in 1770, give me the power to issue money, and I care not who makes the laws.
Here's an example of how smart I am. The other day, Randy at work was talking to me about the Rothschild dynasty, and I listened to him for about 3 minutes, and I was like, Randy, they're called the Rockefellers. Like, I thought he was mispronouncing Rockefeller.
No, they're...
Because he was talking about this rich family called the Rothschilds.
They're two teams of related bankster families.
And they directed Hostel and Hostel 2.
That's
Can we
true.
smoke now?
Yeah.
You wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth with Pepsodent.
So anyway, I hear you guys saw a good movie the
boy.
other day.
Oh, boy.
Bad. Let us do it. PJ, what was your favorite movie of this year?
Well, the last movie I saw was Inglourious Backwards.
What did you think of
Bastards.
it? Backwards.
And that is, well, I mean, their logic was ass backwards, am I right?
I wasn't going to take advantage of that Freudian slip, but yeah, I'd have to say that my suspicion, although I haven't seen the movie, I read some
You
reviews.
do have a suspicious mind.
Yeah.
Much like Elvis in that sense.
The Hollywood is owned by the New World Order, so I always worry about what kind of propaganda spin they're putting to any story.
Would you say, I keep waiting for you to say Hebrew wood, which you say at work all the time, because then we could call the episode that.
Well, I don't want to sound anti-Semitic, but I do.
Me neither.
I do take advice
Who
from
runs Hollywood? Just so everybody
do-
remembers.
A lot of Jews say that the Jews run Hollywood. I'll just say what the
Only
Jews
the Jews say it?
and then if the Jews say that this statement was anti-Semitic, then they'll have to go after the other Jew that said that. So-
Well, they can say it about themselves.
well, yeah, they can say things about
like those other
themselves,
races.
But anyway, the
Remind me, I
movie
don't
from the
remember any
reviews
other
I
races.
read were that there were some scenes in it that were not very realistic, or of
Not
course
historically accurate.
not
let's say.
historically. There was
Yeah.
never a moment,
and they
I
don't
believe,
claim to be.
Okay, maybe they didn't claim to be.
No, he's taking
but
liberties,
you see,
obviously.
the average person going to see these movies, do they subliminally start to believe
Well,
in them, even if they don't literally think so at the moment after a vague while? I was talking to a girl that thought that when she saw the 300 Spartans, or whatever it's called, that there was a hunchback soldier at the battle scene, like
Well,
there is
did
in
she
the
work
fantasy.
with us?
Yes.
Well, there you go. She was most definitely an idiot.
Well, yeah.
Odds are she was an idiot.
Yeah,
But I
well, isn't a total idiot.
Oh, God. Let's name drop. I
I thought
already spoiled the ending to you before, and I'm sure that most listeners have seen the movie by now.
I got a piece. I'm sorry that.
Is it okay? Can I keep talking here? I already spoiled the ending for you, and most people have seen it, but they kill Hitler in it. No one's going to go to the movie and come out of it thinking, oh, I'm sorry, did I just ruin it for you, Eric? No one's going to actually think that happened, that Hitler got killed inside a movie theater.
Oh, you mean Hitler was one of the victims in this movie theater?
Yeah, they put like 1,000 bullets into him.
Right into his face.
Now, you see, a lot of people go to these movies, and there's no disclaimer at the beginning of the movie saying,
I'm saying
please
when
turn
it's-
your cell phones off. Yeah,
There's
we
not a
get it.
disclaimer at the beginning of The Abyss either, but everyone knows that didn't happen.
well, a lot of people
Solid
know.
point.
A lot of
Thank
people
you.
know that things in the movies may be fantasy, but unfortunately, there is a sort of a subliminal influence on people's thinking. I believe, even if they're told something's fictional, they might think that the spirit of the fiction might be true. Or
Well, sure,
in
it's like
some-
we wish this would have happened. I mean,
Yeah.
the audience I saw it with definitely cheered during it.
It's just like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. You think Snow White is pure just because she sounds so pure, and she's just a fiction. So
I think the medical examiner proved that she had 7 bumps in her hymen.
What does that indicate?
Yeah, yeah.
Again, we were
well, that
going
was
to
a
make
pretty
the
dopey
exact
thing to
same
say,
joke.
but no, I can't beat that. I'm sorry, I can't beat. That was pretty funny. That was pretty good. No, I
PJ
just
made that joke up. That was totally original, right?
I never
No,
heard-
it to me it just seems, and I'm going to cut to the chase here. Inglorious Bastards is another example
You
of a
haven't
movie.
seen it. Before you finish, you have
Well,
not seen it.
this is my opinion of what I think it is.
Based on the review that you
on
read,
the
sure.
reviews I've read. Yeah, that it's another anti-white propaganda that Hollywood is producing these days in vast quantities. I believe.
now,
the
by
earlier-
Hollywood, do you mean Hebrewwood?
That's what I thought I heard him
yeah.
say.
I guess I'll go for Hebrewwood. Yeah.
Yes,
PJ.
we have a show title.
Hebrewwood. Yeah. Well, I mean, they won't dispute it. It's obvious they own all of Hollywood,
Right.
so they're not going to dispute it.
If somebody throws that in your face, you're like, yeah, what of it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is my USA. You know what the heck?
It's like when you're
there's
the
a-
general manager of a Red Robin and everyone makes fun of you for it. You're like, yeah, but I'm the general manager of
Right.
Red Robin.
My name tag says general manager.
Yeah. You make fun of me all you want. I'm there.
I'm just kind of going with the Constitution. You know, I think that the more we exercise our freedom of speech, the stronger that part of our Constitution will remain in our minds. And a lot of the Constitution is under attack right now, and they're wanting to. Right now, they're taking away our ammunition. They gave up taking away our guns, so they've done the next
Is
best
this
thing.
actually deja vu, or did he talk about this last time? I know it's been a year.
You
I don't
know,
know.
it's
I
weird.
know they're trying to
but
take away the
I
title of
listened
our
to our
podcast.
show earlier today, and
Our previous
the
show.
economy.
Hang on,
Maybe-
let's plug
the
it.
economy
Hold-
is
hold-
bad.
Let's plug
Randy,
it.
just
Let's
for a
plug
second.
it. Our previous episode with you on
in
it.
case we have new listeners, we want them to go back and listen to the first one, which was our first bonus episode, and it came between episodes 13 and 14. So go back. Continue.
All right, yeah, and basically, I said that the economy was getting really dangerously in a lot of turmoil back last year. Well, my predictions, almost the show that we did last time, and I heard it earlier today. I'm a gardener, and they're trying to destroy our garden seeds with this Frankenstein stuff called genetically modified seeds that are absolutely toxic. You cannot eat them without them changing the enzymes of your stomach. They do liver damage. They can actually sterilize rats when they experiment on lab animals. This modified food actually sterilizes a certain portion of the rats, cuts down on their longevity, and they're just devastating to their health. This is what the New World Order wants us
And
to
certainly,
eat.
if anyone wants to read more about that, get Flowers for Algernon from the library.
Flowers
Or just
for
rent Charlie. It's
Algernon.
easier.
Wow, that goes back in time. I don't know whether that touches on that aspect, but wasn't Algernon
Oh, there's a mouse.
smart mouse?
Yeah.
He was
well,
a
no.
high IQ mouse.
I mean, they tested the mouse, but basically it was.
They made him a smart mouse.
and
Yeah.
they made a retard be able to talk again.
You know,
Congratulations.
You hear what
They
Nick
shoulda-
said? He's a smart mouth.
Yeah, you know the thing about that falsity of the concept that they could make a mouse smarter than it would have been normally isn't really very real, but it is possible to breed a mouse that would be very smart, and that would be by having a host population of mice, and you test them all, and then you only let the ones that are smart reproduce, and you do that for a couple of dozen generations, and you're going to get a mouse that would be like this Algernon mouse was.
So
a
when you
very
watch
smart
Tom
mouse.
and Jerry, do you hope Tom or Jerry wins?
I hope that if the
Tom's the
cat,
cat.
is a smart, I hope that the cat, if it's a particularly smarter cat than your average cat, and the mouse is a particularly dumber mouse than average mouse, then I would root for the cat. But if But if the mouse is a really smart
The mouse was always smarter. Have you not seen Tom
well,
and Jerry?
yeah,
You're
but I'm
way
saying
older
for
than
a
me.
mouse, though. For a mouse.
Okay.
I mean, which was the smartest mouse? I would like the smartest mouse in the
Mighty
cartoon.
Mouse was at least mighty.
Mickey can
Yeah.
drive a car.
I'm sorry, what was your
okay,
suggestion?
Mickey would be the smartest mouse, then,
Yeah.
I would guess. So anyway, I meant just for genetic improvement through natural selection rather than through some artificial process that these
I'm gonna say a joke
genetically
now.
modified
It's too late.
seed.
It'll go over both your heads. Randy, you're too old. Nothing against you. PJ, you just don't listen to music. Danger Mouse?
That's a band, right? It was also a cartoon. Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse.
Well, you can take it
Wow.
either way.
He was a cartoon that drove around. As long as we're going back to jokes, missed opportunities on jokes. I wish there was a
that one went
cartoon.
over so well.
I wish there was a cartoon about a smarter than average bear.
Well,
Boy, wouldn't
of
that be a
course,
thing.
you're referring to Yogi Bear.
No, I don't think he
right?
was. He was
No.
referring to Yogi Berra, if anybody.
No, actually,
my
wasn't-
bear is going to be different. He's going to like picnic back.
No, actually, I thought Yogi was smarter than the average bear.
You're right. He was.
Yeah.
One time I put a note on a girl's back in school, and it said I'm dumber than the average bear, and I got in trouble.
Well,
But it's probably the best joke
I
of your
think
elementary
that,
school years.
The best sign to ever be put on anybody's back.
I'm surprised
back
you even
there.
know
I would
about
agree.
that ancient cartoon because that's like the 50s.
Oh,
we're
come on.
talking
There are
about.
reruns, Randy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
My daughter
boy, these
watches the
reruns
Jetsons,
should have.
for God's sake.
Yeah,
really,
I
Jetsons.
watched the Jetsons with his 2-year-old daughter last night.
It's hard to improve on those.
It's
good
not a
ones,
good
isn't it?
show either.
Yeah, but they're making some pretty bad cartoons nowadays. Absolutely,
I'd say that
horrendously
most of them are
violent.
probably better than the Jetsons. But I am going to make a Family Guy slam right here.
Did anybody understand Beavis and Butthead? I had a rough time.
I feel like I
figuring
eventually understood it, yeah.
out. Really.
Yeah, it took me a little
You got to
while.
get on mic.
Yeah.
oh,
did
yeah.
you want to say anything?
Yeah, I want
And-
to say my son loved Beavis and Butthead.
Your son? Hold on.
Who didn't? God bless him. God bless him.
Randy, no, PJ, you keep your mic. Randy, give her your mic.
Okay.
And remind me of her name. I'm sorry, before
Stephanie.
Oh, my name's
Stephanie. I'm so
Stephanie.
sorry I forgot. And thank you for
Well,
letting us record here.
I didn't watch it enough. I mean, I thought it was a bit kind of violent, like on some of the other stuff, but I just let him watch it. I thought they were crazy.
How old is your son?
Oh gosh, he was born in '86, September.
It's going to make him about 23. Just
Yeah,
celebrating
he's over
20
21
September
now.
19th.
Look at how anxious Randy
she
is to get the
did,
mic back.
20th?
She did
Randy,
like.
we were not
uh,
done with Stephanie.
I was,
Wait a
my
minute,
daughter was
just to
born a day
interject
before.
though, she
well,
did.
as long as we're all
let's
talking
you
about
and I
each other,
talk.
we'll make a
Let's
shame
let
out
them
of it.
talk.
Huh, everybody?
Eric, you want to start talking?
She did
Just
watch.
start yelling. I know you don't have a mic.
Mr. Rogers'
A, B,
Neighborhood was one of her
C, D,
favorite
E,
shows.
F.
Mr. Rogers'
You can't
Neighborhood.
talk unless you're on mic. I'm sorry.
Well,
Yes, I
Randy
used to
stole
watch
her
it
mic,
with my
literally.
son.
No one's going to hear it back.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I liked it. My sons liked it, but when we switched over to cable, that was pretty much it. Nickelodeon.
Too many other options, sure.
Nickelodeon.
You
What is
got-
somebody
Okay,
born in
now-
1986 watching on Nickelodeon?
You got Doug.
Randy, I have
Doug
more
ran for
questions
years.
for Stephanie.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
just
okay.
just two.
All right.
Do you think 9/11 was an inside job? I'm only laughing because I asked that already.
Was a what though?
Was it an inside job?
Well, yes, I do think it was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes,
Second question: what do you think about Tom and Jerry as cartoon characters?
I think they're silly.
I would agree.
I mean, the
Silly-
cat always gets the mouse.
That's
you know?
true. No.
In real life.
Well, maybe not in real life, but eventually.
Who?
My cat kept the mice cleaned up of my house.
No, she's saying that the cat doesn't always get the mouse in the cartoon, and that's what makes the cartoon ridiculous.
Yeah, but who?
And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. 'cause
Hypothetical.
They usually always do get it.
First of all, you gotta talk
mic
on the
up to
mic.
your face.
They usually
First
always
of all,
do.
cats and mice, they don't even spend that much time together.
Let me ask you guys this: curveball, Roadrunner versus Coyote. Who's going to win most of the time?
Oh my god, these are all
Yeah, I
cartoons
never watched
fucking
that. I
hate.
don't know about that one.
But you know of them.
Yeah.
Yes,
sit-
yes, you do.
No, I only watched.
I'm talking to her.
No, I know only of the Roadrunner, not Curveball.
from what I've read, and I've read a lot of scholarly work on that, and I would like to ask you, Eric, what is your take on Jesus as a myth, and who invented the Jesus myth, and for what reason?
My opinion was, based on all this information and disinformation we've got, that Jesus appears to have been a personification of the sun god, so it's incorrect to call him the Son of God. He is God the Son. But this was just a myth which was created by Jews to enslave Gentiles. Because if you look at the Old Testament, you have the Master Creed saying, slay the Gentiles and enslave them. Then you have the Christian malarkey where it says, obey the chosen ones and be their slaves, because your reward is in the afterlife, not this life. So it's a big Ponzi scheme. And as long as people accept the idea that they're sinners and that they should be sheep led by a shepherd, they will be defeated. And
from what I understand, Eric, what I've analyzed myself in anthropology and biology is that the Jews consider themselves their own Messiah, that their gene pool is their Messiah. And if you think about it, they might actually be onto something, because if you're not into a sky myth, a God myth, if you're in this world rather than another, then the idea of your own gene pool being your Messiah isn't such a bad idea. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm all in favor of it, because it has been said by rabbinical authority that God is the Jewish people. And they mean that collectively and seriously. And if you deprecate your own people and claim you're all a bunch of sinners and you're all a bunch of sheep, then you're complicit in the demise of your own people.
Now, this idea of a banking cartel that uses interest to extract money from a group of people under its control, is this been going on just since our 1913 Federal Reserve, or just how far back in time does this usury bank system go? I suspect it's going back farther than I can guess.
Well, the earliest record that I have come across is called the Babylonian Woe, which was written by a friend of mine named David Astle, and he claims that the Habiru Sagas, or cutthroats of the desert, alias Hebrews, were into the usury racket clear back in ancient Greece, 500 BC.
So does Babylonian times predate Greece, or was that the earliest time? Because I was trying to get that straight. When we were slaves, how long we've been slaves to these small groups. And by the way, they don't represent all Jews. Many Jews do not claim to be in any way tied in with this New World Order small group of elite bankers. But just how deep is this situation for us now? From my understanding, we're about on a verge of a global collapse of all economies. What is your take on the odds of this occurring with this debt usury system that many countries are under now?
Well, it's a racket, and the beneficiaries of the racket so far are the banksters and apparently the Chinese. Their economy seems to be very well off as compared to ours, because they produce everything they need except for raw materials, whereas we have exported our manufacturing sector, and our jobs are gone, and they're not coming back.
I keep hearing this term, we're being de-industrialized. Now, the fact that there is a power in control of our country that can force us to de-industrialize makes me wonder, just how remote are the levers of power from the common man in our country? Just how far gone are we? Eric, what do you think?
Well, we're an ace away from starvation because our food production is on very shaky ground, and our economy, our means of getting food, are basically going down to the Roman bread and circus thing.
I just think that right now
Quit interrupting.
we're at the end times of our country. That's my major.
I would agree with that because the Freemasonic founding felons who...
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's all yours.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Freemasonic founding felons of this racket called the United States of America put on their great seal, Novus Ordo Seclorum, New World Order. And in Judaism, the Kabbalah, you want to make the evil you are about to do manifest to your victims, and if the victims do nothing after being advised what you're doing to them, then the guilt for what you do to them passes on to the victim's shoulders. In other words, Judaism means punish the innocent. And this is what we are. Every time we accept a dollar bill with the Great Seal of the United States on it, we are acknowledging, oh yes, we are going to die in the service of this new world order. And the United States is simply a launching pad for this Jewish dictatorship worldwide. And globalism is the shorthand name for the New World Order. And our president is a globalist, and he has said so. So your jobs are gone, Americans.
What I was wondering also, Eric, I've been noticing that this war in Iraq is the opposing side in this war apparently is being funded by China and also Russia, I believe, from what I recently saw
Afghanistan is being funded by, apparently, Chinese businesses are moving in to Afghanistan, and as they were doing under the Soviet occupation, they were shipping arms to the Taliban, who are allies at that time during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. But apparently China is moving into Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Now, it's my understanding that when these bankers fund both sides of every war, one of their chief aspects or advantages of having a war to begin with is that wars cause confusion among the general population of all the participating countries, and that when all this confusion is going on, you have a lot of chicanery that you're just describing going on where another foreign national country moves in and takes over things in the country that's at war, and generally the population is confused, and there's not much. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
But there's not much of a good situation there.
Well, Clausewitz described war as a conflict between A and B for the benefit of C, meaning we fight each other and the banksters get the money and the power as the result of our blood. And that's what they've done in the world wars in the 20th century, and they're doing it now.
Now, from what I've figured out, I've followed the money trail, and all the countries of the world practically are taken over by the Rothschild Central Bank, usury, debt, slavery, fraud, except for, I think it's down to 5 countries now, one of them being Saudi Arabia, one of them being Libya, one of them being Iran. Now, I'm not sure about Venezuela. I'm afraid to say I think Venezuela may have a bank that is a central connected bank to the New World Order. Are you privy to the Venezuelan bank system?
I'm not sure specifically about the status of Jewish international finance in Venezuela, but it seems that Hugo Chavez is doing his best to trim it And he may have already done so because he's taken over the natural resources of Venezuela on behalf of the Venezuelan people rather than for the international oil cartel.
In other words, he's taken privatization and maybe made it public, which is just the other way around that we're doing in this country. And it appears that that's for the greater benefit of the common citizen of Venezuela, whereas this idea of taking public lands and public things and making them private is a fancy word for saying that the rich are stealing from the poor.
Yes, the same tribe that ruled the Soviet Union and looted it, ruled the United States, and have looted the United States too. And the creditor is their new host people, which I believe are the Chinese.
Now, what do the Chinese think about being this new host people to these international banking families? Are they, I guess they're all for a nice fat space program, which apparently these elite bankers are financing a lot of technological improvement or progress in the Chinese economy. So I see that to be a bad factor. And another thing I noticed, Eric, I wanted to say something about the situation where apparently Obama is giving our missile technology to China right now as I speak. It was in the news this week. And this is almost like treason, only they're not trying to hide this. He's doing this right out in front of us. What's your take on that, Eric?
Well, Obama has already declared that he's a globalist, which means he's prepared to sell out U.S. interests to anybody. And so if we give our technology to Israel, they will sell it to China. So why not sell it to China directly? And Obama is doing that because the whole country is for sale. In fact, China's the major holder of our treasury bonds, so it's already been sold. And once again, we've been selling our public goods for private profit at our expense, namely the taxpayers.
Well, it appears that there's a little secret group of helper traders that apparently are helping these international bankers, and we have a good portion of them in our country, as you know, Eric, and we call them Freemasons. And apparently these white Freemasons, they are white for the most part. They're not all white, of course, but a lot of them are. They're actually selling out the white population that supports their existence. So once they've accomplished their job and destroyed the country and stopped the reproductive rate of the common white citizen of this country, then once they've accomplished that and we're no longer a white majority, then these white traders, what will they do, Eric, at this point?
I'm not sure. I knew them, and I don't know what became of them after they put Robert Mugabe in charge of Zimbabwe. But it's interesting you should mention this treason by these Freemason felons, because Mugabe is doing the same to his people. He's exporting his black population to other countries illegally because he is actually an employee of the Chinese.
Well, it's amazing that money can purchase a trader amongst any group of people, and that for the common person of any racial group, it's better to pick their leadership from as low down in the power chain as possible, because it appears that very few people are capable of leading without resorting to fraud and their own self-interest.
That's correct. The traitor to the whites in Africa had white faces, and the traitor to the blacks in Africa have black faces, just as the traitors in the United States have